Morning. I am Nivi, and I welcome you to the very first session of Go Dream Big, a platform where you can meet professionals from many different careers who are here to share their own career journeys, who are willing and able to answer your questions and hopefully help you make informed and inspired choices about your own careers. Go Dream Big is entirely supported by volunteers at this moment. This is our effort to give back to society. We want to play a role in mentoring the next generation. And we are incredibly thrilled to be doing so in this manner with you, because guess what? 25 years ago, we were all in your shoes. All 10 panelists on the Go Dream Big panel today are ex-students of GD Birla Girls High School. And we are incredibly grateful to Mrs. Khaitan ma'am and to Mrs. Nath ma'am for giving us this opportunity to address the students of the Birla family of schools. Go Dream Big wants to do these as a series about at a quarterly cadence. And every time we come, we want to come to you with a story in which the different careers fit. We do this because we want to raise your awareness about the extent of impact these career choices can have. Before we get into today's story, a few rules of engagement. You are watching us on YouTube Live. If you are logged in to your Google accounts, then you can see this live chat and you should be able to submit your questions. If you do not have a Google account, then you can use, if you want, this generic attendee21@gmail.com account. The password is GoDreamBig, no caps, all lowercase letters. And then 10 of us will speak. And then we have the Q&A session. We will be taking questions from here during that time. And you will also meet some of our guest panelists who may be familiar faces for you. After today's entire session is done, do check back. Under this video, there's the information section where we will post links, pre-recorded detailed videos that cover each of the career tracks we will go into today. And of course, our contact information for direct networking. Without further ado, let's begin. $2.5 million people have died of COVID. The world as we knew it has been changed by this pandemic in ways we could not have imagined a year ago. For me, it all began in March 2020, when I got this text to come into work. I work for a large biotechnology company that makes instruments, software, assays, reagents to service the life sciences industry. The CEO of our company had just made an incredible commitment. We were going to complete the development of the COVID-19 molecular diagnostic tests, get it approved by the Food and Drug Administration in the USA, manufacture and be ready to deliver 3 million test kits in a matter of weeks. It was a daunting proposition, and the world was watching. Our research and development lab in the industry as well as in academia, the world over, was of course very busy at this time, trying to study the virus, learn about it, develop tests, vaccines, develop drugs to address this situation. We have scientist Anindita, who will tell us about her career in academic research. And then we have finance manager Shuchandra, who works in biopharma, who make drugs, and she'll tell us about her career in that world. I told you I personally worked on developing the COVID-19 test kits. Those instrument pictures over there are molecular diagnostic instruments, among other types of instruments, which my company makes. And I work as an algorithm development engineer who writes algorithm and software that sits inside those instruments. And I wrote algorithm and software that sits inside the molecular diagnostic tests for COVID that our company made. 48 hours since that text I received, our test got approval from the Food and Drug Administration in the US. It was the second test the world over to get approved. And it was an incredibly thrilling moment. Felt like I was doing something so relevant, so important. But of course, we had just barely scratched the surface, because now we had to figure out a way to deliver these tests to 8 billion people around the world. That's where manufacturing and distribution comes in. Massive, massive operations to do this scale up. And fellow engineer, Mimi, who works in the supply chain sector, can tell you more about that. We are not losing the fight against COVID. 60 million people have recovered. We have the vaccines. And the frontline warriors and heroes in that fight have, of course, been the healthcare professionals. We have medical doctor Shohini and physiotherapist Onushua, who will tell us about their roles. The business world has not escaped the impact of COVID either. And we have banker Bidisha and program management professional Mumia, who will tell us a little bit about careers in banking and financial services sector. The world has to holistically recover from COVID, social, political, economic, and there's a lot of modeling and studying that goes on in order to figure out that path to recovery. We have economics professor Devjani, who will tell us a little bit about her career, and then entrepreneur Sanjukta, who will tell us in these times, of all times, how important it is to sort of take the bull by the horns, go after your dream and be your own boss. That's the 10 panelists today on the COVID diary. We are pretty geographically distributed, and I would like to thank all of us that could come together for this, and particularly a shout out for those in the East Coast who are doing it at 1 a.m. in the night today. Hope we have an engaging and informative session. I welcome Anindita.
Thank you, Neve. It's a pleasure to be here, and I will try to give you a glimpse of what scientists can do in the academia, as well as how to think about a career in science. I hope my screen is visible to you. So when I was in school, I was a good student, but never the top of class. I was engaged in multiple activities, extracurriculars, and my family wanted me to be a doctor. I grew up thinking that I want to be a doctor too. Though my passion was in teaching, I began at age 4 teaching the furniture in the house. It took me years to realize that teaching was my original passion, and that's what I wanted to be. Anyway, so I wanted to be a doctor, and the way to go forward is to write the JEE, and this exam I flunked. It was a disaster. I was considered a failure by the whole family, and I enrolled in a BSc zoology degree in a small college in Kolkata. But 2 months into the course, I fell in love, and I didn't want to do anything else. I had a couple of great teachers who motivated me, and eventually I started dreaming of doing a PhD. I was asked to go and write the JEE again, and this time I doodled on my answer script so that I did not have a chance of succeeding. And during this time, we went on a field trip to IISc, and that kind of changed my life. And this is where the dream for doing a PhD in IISc started. Went on to do a master's program in Calcutta University in zoology. While I was doing this, I was reading less of my texts and doing more of extracurriculars and outside of syllabus reading, and engaging with a lot of activities inside and outside college. And eventually my dream came true. I went to IISc, which was a life-changing experience. I got to know what doing science means, what research means, what asking questions means. And I had a completely new way of looking at science. I had a wonderful mentor, Professor Gadakar, and he taught me all that I have known about doing science and teaching. I did my PhD on the politics of insect societies, and then I did my PhD, got my degree, and I like saying that I am a fully made in India person, because from my school to my PhD, I never went abroad to get any part of my degree, which is considered quite, low down in the science career, but I didn't care. I shifted gears, came to IISc Kolkata, joined here as a faculty, had lots of ups and downs, struggles as a woman in science, but I never gave up and I dreamt big. And then here I was working on social behavior of dogs and stray dogs. Today, I'm a behavioral biologist. I am the founder of the International Young Academy of Science, a co-chair of a leading global organization called the Global Young Academy. I act as an associate dean. In addition to that, I wear another hat. I am a theater person, and I am a mother of two. And in all of this, where do I fit into the COVID story? As a scientist, as a teacher, as an academician, people like me have been engaged in extensive outreach and social engagement, giving talks, delivering do's and don'ts about COVID, reaching out to the public, reaching out to the media, telling people about the science behind COVID. And this is where you can contribute, being a scientist away from wet lab research and a teacher, but still contributing to the societal development. And I still dream big. Thank you.
Thank you, Anindita.
Suchandra.
Thank you, Anindita. We are in the middle of a pandemic, and the names dominating the news cycles are Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, etc. These are biopharma companies at the forefront of COVID-19 vaccine development. Biopharma companies utilize biological processes to develop drugs and therapies for intractable diseases like cancer and other immunological disorders. For example, we are hearing about monoclonal antibody treatment for COVID-19 that mimic human body proteins to repel viruses. Another example is CAR-T therapy for treating certain blood cancers that utilize immune cells in the patient's body to drive out cancer cells. Now, let me walk you through my journey in this industry. Back in school, I liked a lot of subjects. I had a general love for learning. However, I did not like biology. So I appeared for the JEE exam and studied electrical engineering at National Institute of Technology, Durgapur. After that, I traveled to the US and did my master's in electrical engineering, followed by a master's in computer science. Thereafter, I worked for several corporate finance clients as a business technology professional. It was at this time that I realized that it would be good to get a CA, CPA type credential. So I wrote the 4-part exam, gained the necessary experience, and got the credential. After that, I joined the biopharma industry and work in a liaison role between finance and computer applications. It is interesting to note here that back in school, I did not like biology, and here I am working at a biopharma company. So the journey has not been linear, and there has been several twists and turns along the way. However, it has been totally worth it. I started out with a love for learning And this has been a consistent theme in my career, where I learned several subjects and applied them in my workplace. This is my professional journey, but also one of self-discovery, where I learned that it is your unique attributes that will guide you along the way. Thank you for listening. And now over to my engineer friends, Nivi and Mimi.
Nivi, can you unmute, please?
Thank you. Thank you, Chandra, for all those, for your story filled with those twists and turns, which is a very real thing in the real world. I've already shared my story of what I was doing during the COVID times, algorithm development on the COVID-19 test kits. Mimi, what were you doing?
Well, I work for a food tech company where we deliver fresh food to people's doors, ordered online. And as you can imagine, as the COVID restrictions kicked in, our demand rose tenfold, literally. And as engineers, we just scrambled to try and increase our capacity in manufacturing and in supply chain to fulfill that. We were all going to work in person when other people were staying at home. A lot of our operations team got COVID. But big picture, is represented by one of the walls in our office, just painted over with huge letters, a letter from one of our customers who thanked us for being heroes who brought her food when she couldn't get it herself because she was a high-risk person.
That is an incredibly inspiring story, Mimi. Gotta give you that. So when did you know you wanted to be an engineer?
I'm not sure I still know. I was, a good student. I got good grades in all my subjects, which just meant that I was completely unsure about my career choices. But, back in those days, we had very few choices, at least according to our parents. So it's either medicine or engineering. And I thought engineering was going to be interesting and also safe. And so I went for that. You?
I figured out early in life that it's good to pick a role model because they kind of bring the story together for you. I had this brother I really idolized. He was an engineer. My father was an engineer. My grandfather was an engineer in the Indian Railways. We had many uncles as engineers in the family. It was like almost, what else am I going to do?
And then how did you choose your college?
I sat for the joint entrance examinations and then went on to B College Shibpur to do a degree in computer science and engineering. Somebody gave me a tip at the time that, you need to strategize how to clear this elimination exams differently from how you prepare to do well in a board exam, like your +2. And that tip turned out to be really, really useful. How about you?
Well, I prepared for my IITs, but on the day of the exam, I had a complete nervous meltdown and I did horribly. But luckily, my class 12 board results were good. And so I applied to BITS Pilani on that basis. And I got in to do a bachelor's in electronics and electrical engineering.
Cool. So what did you learn? What was the most important lesson?
I think the most important thing I learned was how to think. I mean, obviously, I learned a lot of things in my various subjects, a few of which I do use in my work, a lot of which I don't. But something I use every single day is how to solve problems. And that's what I think an engineer is, a problem solver.
Entirely agree. And one other thing I want to add is I learned to program. And folks, if you don't like math, do like math, doesn't matter. If you've got a logical mind, you think, pick up a book in programming and start to learn how to code. It is a life skill, I found, opening many doors.
Truly important. So what did you do after college?
Well, I had a pretty traditional path. I took the GRE, came here to the US, did my master's and PhD, loved the grad school atmosphere, the freedom to choose the subjects you want to study, the friendly, interesting people, the bookshop hours, the jazz cafe time. It was awesome. And then a couple of years down the line, I transitioned into the corporate world as an engineer in a radio company. And then after a few years, I transitioned to biotech. You know, I have had the opportunity in life to do really cool technical things. I have published, I have patents to my name. Very fortunate, I consider myself. But one thing I will say is that it took me a long time to figure out what was the big picture. You know, a lot of information will come at you. Not all of it is accurate and not all of it is right for you. While you should remain inspired, it's important to be circumspect and to use your judgment, because you know what? The most important thing is that you do you.
Here, here. So I also took my GREs, came to the US for my master's in electrical and computer engineering. But I learned quickly in grad school that a PhD was not for me. In my area of specialty, it would have meant long hours alone in a lab. And being a people person, this just didn't appeal to me. And so I went into industry and I chose to work in manufacturing. And you know, relatively few women go into engineering, even fewer choose manufacturing. And a tiny fraction of those choose to go into automation and controls, which is what I did. So this was a sure way to be a super minority as a woman. And honestly, I think I only did it because it felt like the whole world was challenging me and saying that I couldn't. So I suppose I should be grateful that no one challenged me saying that I couldn't become a drug addict or an alcoholic.
I'm glad no one asked you that, Mimi. So would you say you're happy with your choice?
Yes, yes, I am. You know, in my specialty, I have definitely led an unconventional and exciting life as an engineer. And I'd also say that for anyone who's unsure, engineering is a really good path to take. It's one of the very few fields in which after just 4 years of college, you can get a good job. And depending on what you want to do, you can rise to the very top of the ladder. You'll see many of the other panelists today had to go through many more years of training in order to get to where they are.
Yeah. And, you know, for me, engineering gave me a really deep, visceral, cerebral appreciation of the real world, which I enjoy. When I'm watching a sunset, I will sometimes tell my friends, you know, those are frequencies changing in time. No, seriously. And it doesn't go very well. And most of the times I get the rep of being a nerd.
But you know what? I wear that word nerd as a badge of honor. And honestly, most of my favorite people are nerds because the way they think is just so interesting.
I love this quote I heard picked up somewhere. They say, if you love a nerd, raise your hand. And if you don't, raise your standards. With that, I'm going to turn us over to the healthcare professionals.
Lovely. Thank you, Nivedita, for that. Let me quickly share my screen. Okay, excellent. So, hello, students. In this section of the COVID-19 related career talk, Onushua, who is a physiotherapist, and I, a doctor, will briefly take you through our career pathways and current roles in the COVID-19 pandemic. So when I was in your position in school, I actually loved all subjects and therefore had no idea what I wanted to do. My secret dream was to be a spy like James Bond and travel around the world having exciting adventures in glamorous locations. My second and more realistic career choice was to be a veterinary doctor, and that was because I love animals. But in those days, this was not considered to be a desirable profession and was disparagingly referred to as kukur beralder daktar. Therefore, I sort of craved an unconventional life, but I had no idea how to go about creating one. So, in an act of supreme irony, I went for the joint entrance examination, which was the most conventional thing for class 12 science students to do at that time. After getting my MBBS degree, spurred on by my continuous desire to travel around the world, I completed the professional exams that were required to come to the UK for further postgraduate studies. And after another thoroughly indecisive journey, I ended up as an anesthesia and perioperative medicine specialist. I also discovered at around this time that I loved teaching, and therefore I completed a medical education fellowship, and today I am also a lecturer at the King's College Medical School. Now, this is a picture of me in my full COVID-19 protective gear. This was taken in my hospital's intensive care unit last year at the height of the first pandemic wave. My current specialty offers me an exciting career, good earning, a very satisfying work-life balance, which is really important, I think, and plenty of time to travel around the world, which is what I set out to do 25 years ago. I just have to add a word of caution here. Medicine has a long and arduous training pathway, and therefore it may not be a suitable career for everyone. However, if you have the right mindset for it, then this can be one of the most rewarding and fulfilling careers out there. Once you've completed your MBBS degree, many diverse career pathways can open up for you, especially if you are adventurous enough to look beyond the conventional higher specialties. Anesthesia, for example, is one such poorly understood specialization, which provides highly desirable emergency and critical care skills. Now, this is a picture of a typical ICU patient surrounded by the complex machinery and monitoring which is required to manage multiple organ failure. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, my colleagues and I set up and ran similar additional critical care units when my hospital's intensive care capacity, existing capacity, was overwhelmed very, very quickly by the huge number of severely unwell patients. We were thus involved in providing highly specialized care to the sickest of COVID patients, and it has been a thoroughly rewarding experience. But that's enough from me now. We will next ask Onushua to talk about her career journey. Over to you, Onushua.
Thank you, Shohini, for giving us an insight into the life of an anesthesiologist. Now, before I talk of my journey, let's put ourselves in a critical or intensive care unit with or without COVID patients. So physical inactivity for such patients will lead to general muscle weakness, joint stiffness, alongside breathing weakness due to the mechanical ventilation, and can compromise the functioning of your heart, your lungs, your general mobility is affected as well. That's where the physiotherapist makes an entry involved with rehabilitation. In school, when I was in your position, I enjoyed chemistry and biology, and I just loved human anatomy. I knew I wanted to do something related to this field. So I took the obvious path and made the inevitable journey with blinkers on, joint entrance exams. On hindsight, my preparation was not at an acceptable level. But that, you know what did? It opened up my gates of opportunity. A family friend said, "What about physiotherapy?" Till that moment, my brain had not registered physiotherapy as a professional. All I knew was Indian cricket team and my favorite tennis player, Steffi Graf, had a physiotherapist. To be honest, the friend suggesting this was a physiotherapist himself. But I was in a world 25 years back where thinking outside the box, or lateral thinking, as you call it, it was high risk. Thus, this job was never in the career radar. But I realized this was a field full of untapped potential. And after some self-directed research work, got my bachelor's degree in PG Hospital, which is under Calcutta University. I worked in a multidisciplinary hospital in a private clinic setting in Kolkata. And then to explore the world of physiotherapy further, which by this time I had started enjoying, I ended up in UK working under various specializations. I recognized that my passion was for musculoskeletal physiotherapy, which is the stream I'm currently working under. And it primarily involves your joint pain, post surgeries, fractures, sports injury, or any kind of neck, back, foot, ankle pain. And I'm also currently involved in teaching students. So this is, sorry, my screen has gone. Is that right?
No, I can see your screen, Anushwa.
Oh, sorry, it's died down on me. So can you guys see me?
I think the students can see you because I can see the screen.
Okay, right. So, yes. So there is a world of untapped potential out there. You can build your own rehab company. You can build your own rehab team. It's one of those fields which has not been used properly. So well done to all of you there who's thinking of choosing some career options here. So yeah, this is my journey in a nutshell, 25 years of my journey in a nutshell. So thank you so much for listening to us. It's, as I said, it's a profession with endless possibilities. So I'll pass it on to my friends in business sector. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anushwa, and hello, everybody. My name is Momia, and in this section of the COVID-19 related career talks, Vidisha and I will be focusing on careers in the financial sector and, of course, our journey till now. Let me start with my journey on how I became a program manager. As a kid, I loved going to school. I loved everything about school. I was good with numbers and was very creative. But just like regular Indian parents, my parents also wanted me to be a doctor. On the contrary, I wanted to be an executive, whatever that meant. All I knew is I wanted a corner glass office, preside over board meetings, and work in North America. But I had no clue how to make that happen. I didn't want to upset my parents, so like a good little girl, I appeared to my medical exam, but failed my JEE. So I thought to follow my dreams after that. I completed my bachelor's with economics honors and then migrated to Canada. I was lucky enough to land a job in the leading insurance company in Canada, and I started working as an underwriter. Acquiring the right educational qualification is one way to reach the top along with hard work. So I completed my chartered in insurance. After working for 7 years as a senior underwriter with a large team, one day I was asked to be a subject matter expert for a project my company was delivering. And that's when I fell in love with project management. Let me explain very briefly what project management exactly is. When any new service or product needs to be delivered, it needs to follow a process. Project management is the process to plan, organize, and manage the series of tasks and resources required to deliver that particular new service or product on time, on budget, and within scope. And the person who's responsible for managing the entire thing is called a project manager. It was very risky for me to have a career change at the age of 31 and to start back from scratch. But you know what? You need to love what you do in order to excel. So I took a leap of faith and I became a project manager. I went ahead and I completed my executive MBA after that from a top Ivy League university here in Canada. My hard work paid off and I was able to climb up the ladder. Currently, I work as a program manager for some of the largest banks in Canada. I lead large transnational and cross-functional teams, having multifunctional expertise, delivering tier 1 projects, basically living my dream. When the pandemic paralyzed the economy, the Canadian government asked the banks to roll out services in order to bring financial relief for the people. I was responsible to roll out many digital services for the bank in order to bring in relief for my customers. Now, you don't have to take my route if you really want to be a project manager and if whatever I said excited you. The journey of a planned project manager is much, much simpler. All you need to do is complete your bachelor's degree in any field. So it could be BTech, it could be BSc, it could be BA, anything. And you need to start assisting projects in order to get 4,500 hours and get that project experience in order to write the exam. Once you acquire PMP certification, you need to land a job and voila, you're a PM. Since project management is omnipresent in pretty much all sectors of the economy, so IT sector, construction, government, healthcare, you name it, there is a big demand. And if you're really interested to become one, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll be more than happy to help you out. All I can say is follow your passion and give your 100% to make your dreams into reality and make your alma mater proud. Go dream big and all the best. Vidisha, over to you.
Thanks, Mumia. I started my journey in the same place as all of you, in our school, the institution which has contributed immensely to my growth and development. In school, I loved all subjects, but enjoyed economics and accountancy to the most, which made me choose commerce stream for my plus 2, and I further did my bachelor's in accountancy honors. I qualified for CA entrance, but chose not to pursue the same. Instead, I prepared for CAT and got enrolled for my MBA. I specialized in marketing and finance. From my campus, I got placement with a leading media house as a management trainee, with training spread across all over in India. I took my first job and started exploring and learning, interacting with big corporate houses, media buyers, advertising agencies. But within a year, I realized that I needed a change of industry. For my real area of interest was in finance. So I took the plunge and joined one of India's leading private sector bank, where I worked for 5 years before relocating to London with the same bank. In London, I got the opportunity to work with the leading global bank, and I worked with them for 12 years across functions and geography, managing global clients and their financing needs. It's been 17 years since then. Today, I specialize in structuring cross-border lending and financing for global conglomerates, essentially for Fortune 500 companies. My area of specialization is trade finance and lending, and hence any borrowing requirements for these companies are held by me and my team. Often, the deals we structure bring about changes in the sector or industry. During COVID times, the government of India brought about special relief structures and loans, and we had to comply to the same. My journey made me realize it is important to follow your passion. Choose the option that is right for you. Choose with your heart and your soul. The journey is more important than the destination. It was not easy for me, traveling alone, meeting clients, unknown cities, late nights, but I was focused and determined. Nothing could deter me. I choose a profession where we do not see too many women. I see that disparity even today. Hopefully, that will change soon. What I have gained is knowledge across sectors and industry. Today, I provide mentoring services across organizations to share my knowledge and learning, which can benefit people like you. I did not have anyone offering such guidance or help at the crossroad of life where you are about to enter. So ask us your questions. We are here to help and answer. And all the best for your future. Let us jointly make our alma mater proud. Over to my friends, Debjani and Sanjukta for their inputs.
Hello, everyone. I'm Debjani, and I'm a professor of economics and I'm very happy to be here today to give back to my alma mater. In this section, my friend Sanjukta and I will talk about our journeys as an educator and as an entrepreneur. I'm an educator, my friend is an entrepreneur. So when I was a student, just like you all back in school, I loved maths and I loved the sciences. However, I was really funky bunch, but I used to get good grades. I always knew that I wanted to be a teacher. And I was inspired by our teachers in Jidabirla and always wanted to be there in their shoes one day. So I took a conventional route after my ISC exam and went for a bachelor's and master's in economics from University of Calcutta. I had no prior background in economics because in my +2 in my ISC, I had physics, chemistry, and maths. But I knew that with economics, I would be able to apply my love for math, my math skills in that subject. So by the time I finished my master's, I had fallen in love with the subject. And that's when I decided to go for a higher education in the US. I knew that would bring me a step closer to pursue my career in teaching. So I took the GRE and came to the US, completed another master's and PhD in economics. It was not easy since I did not have any family or friends here and I was all on my own. As a matter of fact, I have lived here by myself for 15 years. It was not easy for my parents either since I'm the only child, but they never objected to any of my decisions. They always supported me and wanted me to follow my dreams. So after I finished my PhD, that's when I started working as an assistant professor. Then I successfully completed the tenure process and got promoted to the rank of associate professor. It was only last year that I got promoted to the rank of full professor. And that's been the highest point in my career so far, since being a full professor is a dream come true for anyone in academia. I love my job as an educator and I'm very passionate about teaching. The best part is that I'm able to make a difference in someone's life every day, my students. That gives me an immense satisfaction. By the way, my students call me Dr. K. Another aspect of my job is that I need to be current with academic research and publish in scholarly journals. So where do we come in during the COVID situation? Well, when COVID hit us the last year, around March, around this time last year, there was a big impact on all sectors of the economy, right? And the education sector was no exception. We had to quickly pivot to virtual classes while ensuring that we are able to deliver quality education to our students in that setting. So I participated in several teaching workshops, mentored a few of my colleagues, myself adopted new technology, all to enhance the quality of virtual instruction across our campus. It was indeed a learning experience for me. And we thrived, we survived. As far as my research is concerned, well, as far as research in this area is concerned, there's already a huge body of literature on economic analysis and policy implications due to COVID. I am also currently working with some of my colleagues on a research project focusing on the economic and socioeconomic impact of COVID in the county that I reside in. Well, I want to tell you that once you get your PhD or after getting a PhD in economics, being a faculty is not the only choice that you have. You could also become a researcher, a policymaker, an economic advisor, a social entrepreneur, etc., a banker even, and many more. And you can choose subjects like math, statistics, psychology, sociology, political science, etc. Also some subjects in the business area to become a faculty and or a researcher directly after you finish your PhD. However, in some of the science subjects, especially the lab-based subjects, you may require to undergo some experience as a postdoctoral candidate before you can start your faculty position. And then again, going back to what I had said before, I love teaching and I love my students. I'm happy that I'm living my dream today. While I was a student myself, never had I thought that being a funky budge, one day I'll become a university professor. And I would like to close with a quote, author unknown, teaching is a work of heart. Thank you so much for listening to me. And I'll now give the floor to my friend Sanjukta.
Thank you, Debjani. That was so exciting. I'm Sanjukta. Let me take you along my very unconventional journey. When I was a student, just like you, I had a lot of aspirations. I wanted to be a news reader. I wanted to travel the world, inspire people, even have my art studio one day. Can you believe I even had a dream book? I used to maintain that with my doodles, I used to write down my thoughts, my ideas, even sketched the layout of my office, my art studio. So all these things were into my mind. And coming to school, my favorite subjects were English and science. From there, I took a very beaten track. I went on to do my bachelor's and then my master's in English literature from Calcutta University. I did not give up on my hobbies and my passions. I completed my Sangeet Prabhakar in Kathak dance, and that really helped me later on. I'll tell you how. So at this juncture, let me tell you that students, it is very important to continue and nurture your co-curricular activities, your passions, your hobbies, because you never know in life when those can come handy. So I shifted to Delhi NCR and started my career in teaching. I was also the cultural coordinator of the school because of the like proficiency I had in all those art and dance and other performing arts field. So that helped me. Then at this juncture of my life, I had a certain change. I wanted more work-life balance, more flexibility. A desire inside me was to become my own boss, and it was a very strong desire, let me tell you. Back then, owning a business without any business background was really quite unheard of. So against all the odds, I started my venture in the field of social commerce and retail. Social commerce, let me brief you a bit. It is basically a merger of social media and e-commerce. It was very new at that time, but now it's quite trending. So I went ahead and got some cert in the field of nutrition, wellness, and grooming, because those are the areas I wanted to work in. And then there was no looking back. Right now, I'm working actively in the field of women empowerment, helping them to create and run their own startups. So far as COVID times is concerned, because of my profession, I could reach out to so many people to boost their morale, to encourage them to think out of the box, which Anushwa was talking about. So right now, the world is kind of open. After all these digitization, everything has changed. The way the retail works, the way the market works has completely changed. And there is a lot of scope and opportunity. What is my life as an entrepreneur? I mentor business enthusiasts, and because there is no age to start your own business, and sky is the limit. There are so many platforms you can work on. Let me give you an instance. There, you can Google it too. There's a person called Millionaire Umbrella Man. During the COVID times, he started designing umbrellas, very personalized ones with doodles, with written messages on them, and you can order one for yourself. Now he's all over the internet, all over the e-commerce platforms, and he's a millionaire. I just wanted to show what scope owning one's business has. Okay. And I help creative people to be their very best because I focus on enhancing soft skills like mindset, attitude building, developing communication skills, which works for every career actually. And then I travel the world to learn business trends, interact with different business communities and how they can fit into our Indian setup. So basically, I'm living the life of my dreams. So if my journey rings any bell, do feel free to get in touch with me, because I strongly believe when dreams are big enough, odds don't count. So we end our journeys here. It was so exciting to get in touch with all of you, share our stories. So we'll go directly to the question answer session now. I would ask Mimi to come and take it forward. Thank you.
So, students, you heard all of us. You've seen that we all made our own mistakes. A lot of us were very confused about what to do. And we took convoluted paths, and here we are today. So we are good people to ask questions of, and I would encourage you to do so. Please put your questions in the chat. I would also like to thank our teacher and guest panelist, Ms. Majumdar. Ma'am, are you there? And if so, could
Yes,
you tell?
very much.
So good to have you here. Could you maybe introduce
So good
yourself?
to be with. So good to be with you all.
Could you maybe introduce yourself and ask us whatever question you think might be topmost in the students' minds right now?
Well, a very good afternoon to our respected principal ma'am, if she's there and listening and watching us. My dear colleague friends and my very dear students, both former and present. Well, I found this discussion very useful. I hope this would help our present students to a great extent, because we are in turbulent times, where employment is unpredictable, economy is in shock, environment is gravely ill, world political order is unpredictable and dangerous. But with your sharp planning and strategic actions, that I was listening to each of your, career as your voyage, and today you are at the helm of it, in fact. So I hope this would definitely make a difference in their choices, because not only will they learn to survive the perils and challenges, but they will also attain with the forces of change that you used in your time, all along your voyage in the career path. I think they will attain new heights of success. That is, what I personally feel. And of course, you all had your vision. I'm sure of that. That is, you all need to keep a vision, and because all these successful career entrepreneurs are masters of vision, and so are you. Thank you so very much. Carry on with our young, learners, and who are going to enter into the voyage. And maybe like you, they are going to be at the helm of it one day. Let's see how they pass on and make our school proud of you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Majumdar. And now I'd like to invite Ms. Sen to please introduce herself and ask us any question you think might be topmost in the minds of the students right now. Ms. Sen, are you there? You're muted.
Good afternoon. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, for those who know me and those who don't. I'm Preetha Sen, and a proud Ashok Hall Group of Schools alumni myself. I have returned to my alma mater as an educationist and could not leave my roots ever after. I guess I'm rooted and committed to ma'am and this group of schools. I found a few things very interesting, which I would like to share with the students here. I feel the most important thing that you all pointed out is that they need to think, they need to focus, they need to be determined. And I liked what Nivi said, to do the you do you. That was excellently put, I feel. And they need to think beyond the conventional and be adventurous. And I keep telling them in my classes as well that, a road your head decides on may not be what your heart desires. So I repeat, you do you. Thank you so much for having me here. It was wonderful to listen to each one of you. You all have had a wonderful journey, ups and downs. Yes, we all face the same. The COVID year has been difficult, but we have all paced through it, journeyed through it together, and I'm sure we will all be able to meet the challenges in future too. I'm very proud of our students, the present ones and the ex. Please stay well, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So I am going to pass on to some of the questions that we're receiving on the chats. The first one is from someone who's saying, how about students who are interested in subjects like psychology, fashion designing, history, geography, the subjects from humanities background, how should they go about their interested fields? That's a good question. So Sanjukta, I would ask you to answer that question.
Okay, Mimi, I got it. I'm seeing the question right now in front of me. Basically, coming from a humanities background, there are a lot of career options which are open in front of you. If it is it is such a kind of field where it is direct, like advertising, like web designing, there are direct courses to it. Some subjects are there which is like intertwined. You have to take 2-3 combinations to reach to your destinations. I think it'll be good if you choose a good college which has all the subjects which you intend to study, and a good combination of them can lead you, because maybe you've started with a vision of doing something but you end up somewhere else, as all our journeys are here as a testimony. So keep your options open, don't be very narrow minded, keep a broad spectrum. I think if anyone else has anything to add on to that.
Nive, did you have something? You're muted.
Mute. Okay. So I just wanted to add that, we want to do these as a series, right? This time the focus of was COVID, but in the future we could do something which is specifically focused around the arts. Psychology is not really an art, but performing
Social
arts,
sciences.
perhaps. Social sciences. So please keep your questions coming, and it will help us design our subsequent programs. Thank you.
Thanks,
I would
Nive.
like to add a little thing, to your discussion. If you can throw some light on language learning, if you can throw some light on new trend in geography, would be very good, because these subjects are evolving very fast. And what is the new trend now? Students need to know. Because of lack of awareness, they don't opt for such, subjects, but they have very big scope today.
Yeah, ma'am, in particular, GIS and remote sensing, right?
Yes, that is what I arranged some years back with our geography, with our ex-students only. 2 of them, they came and, delivered a talk. And that was quite, useful for us. But then I want much more in that, because it's a very high technology.
Yeah, more in-depth studies. And, I have personally worked on hyperspectral imaging stuff
very
related
good
to geography. I was an algorithm developer, so I used to do that. So
yes, because we don't have, those kinds of images. I want many more images, to be presented to them. I mean, I'm talking about the satellite images and all. We are not equipped with those, kinds of things that I can get always, from Hyderabad and all that. But then I want somebody to guide us, like you all.
We'll take that.
Thank you for the suggestion, ma'am. The next question I will pose to Anindita. There are 2 people asking, what are the job prospects in the field of biotech? And someone else interested in genetics, how should I go about it?
Yeah, so as you already heard from Nive, there is, of course, a huge prospect out there in biotech, and there are large number of biotech companies developing drugs, developing testing kits, developing instruments, and biotech is like the buzzword now. Genetics is a more classical science, and for doing genetics, I would recommend that you take a more basic biology or degree and then go into specialization. Even for biotech, I always tell students that unless you are really into the technology part of it, don't go for a basic degree in biotechnology. Do a basic biology if you really want to work in the lab, and then learn the biology, learn the systems, learn the basics, build your pyramid on a wide base, and then go into the specialization in biotechnology in your master's, not in your undergrad. And there is, of course, a huge prospect because, COVID has shown how important biotech is, how important genetics is. So that there are prospects. If you want to study these subjects, absolutely go ahead and do it. But for your graduation, choose a basic degree in zoology or botany or physiology or life sciences. Many organized institutions these days in India offer life science or biological sciences as a course, and that gives you a broad base. So that I wanted to study genetics in my master's, and I ended up doing animal behavior because I fell in love with the subject. So you never know what your interest would mature into when you grow up. So give yourself, keep your options open.
Thanks, Anindita. The next question I'll pose to you, Debjani. How much does family support matter for whatever you wanted to pursue?
Thank you, Mimi, for that question. I am happy to get that question actually, because I feel, in my opinion, family support does matter immensely. Because, at the end of the day, I can speak for myself. What I'm today is because of my parents. Had I not received their support, and remember I said I'm the only child of my parents, right? So me coming here to US and them being there back home, it was not easy, right? We had to sacrifice a lot. And also, let me tell you that we came from a middle class family. So that time, coming to a country like US, where the cost of living is high, I was thankful that I had a graduate assistantship during my PhD days. But nonetheless, the support that I had from my parents was immense. And without that, I would not have been able to be here and, fulfill my dreams. So I think that is very important. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for that great answer, Debjani. The next question, how do I know that I'm not making a mistake while choosing the subjects in my 11th standard? That's a very interesting question, and I could probably pose it to a lot of you. I'm going to ask Shohini that. Do you regret you didn't take subjects that made you a spy?
Well, I have to say, I thank my lucky stars that despite not ever wanting to be a medical doctor, I did end up as one. And despite foregoing my desire to become a spy, I am very happy in the profession that I have finally ended up in. For those of you who are saying, who are worried about whether you've chosen the right group of subjects for your plus 11s, I think there was something in you that made you choose those subjects. So I think in your subconscious, you probably do have an interest in that field, which is why you've probably gone into it. You may not know that yet, but there is something that has made you choose those subjects. So I think you probably have made the right choice, but it is, it's quite normal to have doubts at your stage. I mean, I had doubts throughout my career. I mean, not just in choosing sciences, in choosing medicine, in choosing the specialty that I went into. I had doubts throughout my career. So, don't worry if you have those concerns. What I would suggest is, you work through the subjects, and at every point in your life you do have the option to diversify into other specialties that are aligned to the subjects that you've chosen. I mean, I changed my specialization from general medicine to anesthesia at the age of 32. So you have the option to make a change if you did wish to. I hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Rohini. So moving on, this question I'll ask you, Vidisha. Where should commerce students interested in the banking and finance sector apply out of India? And how do we apply for financial aid? What are the odds of getting above 90% aid for bachelors in the UK or Singapore?
Thanks for the question, Mimi. So there are a host of areas where you can apply, and ideally it depends on, the first step for you would be to choose the list of universities or colleges which are globally recognized and ranked. go by that ranking. Each of these colleges openly publish the kind of sponsorships or aid that they provide. It would be an ideal combination to pick the college that chooses and provides your specialization. So there are links which we can share after this call, where probably you can find more detailed information. If you want to, if your focus in getting aid, then there has to be some research, some specialized area which they sponsor. So it's a combination. You have to kind of find out exactly which area you wish to specialize within banking itself or in financial sector. So yes, there are options available which we can help and work, provide you more information if you want to get closer to it. But the good point is today the world is opened and there are a lot of choices that you can make knowingly. So we can work on that.
Thanks, Vidisha. So everyone's giving a lot of really good questions. So I'm keeping on going. I do see that, we're over our allotted 1 hour time slot, but there are just so many good questions. I want us to answer as many as possible. A couple of generic questions. I see people are asking how to get in touch. So if you go to the detailed slide presentations, we will have in the information section in this channel, you'll be able to find out many more details about our careers. And then our contact information will also be posted. You will either have, a LinkedIn link for us or an email address for us where you can ask anybody specific questions. So I definitely recommend that you do that if you have interests in specific things. Let me see. The next one is, I have an interest specifically in human anatomy. Onushua, how should I prepare myself?
So it depends where you like, when you say you like human anatomy, it depends what you want to do with it. So like I loved human anatomy and I always knew I wanted to do something in that field, as I said in my slide. And I didn't know about physiotherapy at that point. Otherwise, I would have straight gone for a physiotherapy entrance exam, which is now a part of, I think after a joint entrance exam, there is a common entrance exam as well to get into physiotherapy. There are a few colleges in Calcutta. One is under PG Hospital, which is Calcutta University, and one is under the central government, which is National Institute of Orthopedically Handicapped in Bonohugli. And also, I'm being told that there is a private college which has come up, several private colleges actually in Calcutta, but all you need to do is do an exam, which is like joint entrance, but probably as people don't know much about physiotherapy, it's not that competitive enough. And if you get good scores in it, you can get into that. So I think if you like anatomy, if you have a passion to do something related to this field, but you don't want to do medicine, you could choose physiotherapy as a profession. And there's also occupational therapy, which is, again, you need very good and sound knowledge of anatomy. I just hope that answers the question, Mimi.
Yes, thank you so much. Another couple of general questions. There are many people asking about various humanities and social sciences fields. The last question on that I see is mass communication. We will make sure to take this into account while planning our sessions for the next quarter and the quarter after that, so that we make sure we have experts in those fields to answer your questions in detail. So, Shuchandra, here's another one which you might like to answer. What if I like engineering and economics both equally? What should I do?
Same pinch. I was in the same boat. You can choose any one of them, or you can be like me, get an engineering degree and somehow sneak your way into something related to finance and economics and work in any industry as in a liaison role like I did. But to be honest, if you like both the subjects equally, ask yourself what is your strength and weakness, and you will get your answer, because it really depends on what you really want to do. So you are the only one who can answer that, and you will know it if you understand yourself.
Okay, thank you. And Mumia, there's a question about, in the current pandemic times, what are the right fields to go into? What does our future hold? How can we be successful in this changing world?
Well, I would say that the professions don't change. It's just the mode how you do it. So, for example, medicine, that won't change. Doesn't matter what happens, the professions in the medical side will always be there. For with digitization, all the professions that are there are always will be there and are thriving, like banking industry, where I am from. We are all doing our work from home, and we are, giving out services so that everybody else can do their banking, basically daily uses from home, day-to-day needs. And you see the schools and colleges, they're also thriving because of the softwares that are there, like Zoom or Google Meets or anything. So the professions aren't going anywhere. It's just that some of them are in more need, and some of them are improvising and evolving. So that's what I would say.
Thanks, Mumia. And Nive, there are several questions about programming and what to do with computer science, especially if you don't have a background while you're in school, you're not taking computers as a subject. How do you get into programming after that?
Programming is like learning another language. You pick up a book, go online, these resources, look for it. There's no specific specific language like a C, Java. Do not focus on that. Do not get drawn into that. Any language you like, any language whose environment is accessible to you, pick it up and start to code, follow the little examples, the little tutorials, and, see how it fits your, yourself, and get that juices flowing. And once that happens, there is so many different formal instruction systems that you can go into to get your certifications, etc. But my advice to you is go online and just start with Python, start with MATLAB. Easy, accessible programming languages with very good tutorials available online. But also stay tuned on our channel, because we will do a specific session on that.
Okay. One more, I specifically addressed to you, Shohini. You being a doctor and being in critical care, how important is it to understand your patients and their family's psychology in order for a case to be successful?
I always say to my trainees and medical students that a major part of treating a patient is actually communication. The treatment, as far as we are concerned, is protocolized. Okay, nowadays, every treatment, every disease has a protocol of treatment. But what makes the difference is how a doctor interacts with the patient and with the patient's family. And that adds that additional element to the care, which I think makes the most difference, not only to the outcome of the patient, but also how the patient and their family feel about how their treatment has gone. So I think from a psychological perspective, communication and the care aspect of your behavior to the patient is very, very important.
Thank you. There are actually several other questions about psychology, so I'm thinking we should definitely have that in a future panel. Okay, there is a question about, or again, several questions about data analysis and pursuing a career as a data analyst. So Mumia, can you answer that question, please?
Sure. So if you want to be a data analyst, I would suggest you do your graduation with maths or stats or computer science along with economics. That would be the starting point. And from there on, you can go on to get degrees with, I know IIMs and some IITs, do some professional courses that will help you. And from there, you can go on and get some practical, hands-on experience. Actually, while doing your professional course, you can get some hands-on experience. Again, don't keep your eyes just to data analysts, because data analysts and data sciences are very closely related, and there's a very fine line between those two, and you can actually have a career in both. So be very vigilant and keep your, as everybody's saying, keep your mind open and your horizon open, and you can have actually a lovely career, and in banks, in insurance companies, in biotech, industry. Like, there's a huge untapped career where you can do really good. Sharnive, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that. First step is learn to code. Go online. There's Udemy, there's Coursera. There's so many different platforms with hundreds and hundreds of free programming courses. Learn to code. And from there, whatever is your, other formal training that you're receiving, you will be able to weave in your programming skills with that and, make a career as a data scientist, a data analyst, some incarnation of that.
And there's lots of good paying jobs. So, you can also, like, as I said, if you keep your horizons open, you can go into actuaries after that. So keep your eyes open.
Okay, thank you. Another topic on which there are a lot of questions. Debjani, after studying economics, what are our career options other than becoming a professor like you did?
Yeah, so if you do complete your master's or PhD, or maybe even with a bachelor's, there are lots of career options, right? So like I said, that your options are not just limited to being a faculty. So data analyst is one that you can become after you complete a degree in economics. You can become an economic advisor. You could be a policymaker. You could be a banker. You could be a financial or risk management. You could be in financial or risk management, that area. And there are tons more. So you have to decide, what is it that I want to do with my degree? And what is it that I really would enjoy doing? You get your degree and there are tons of options in front of you. And these are just a few of the ones that I mentioned. You could also, with an economics degree, if you couple it with finance, you could also go into careers in investment banking or investment planning and so on and so forth. So there are a ton of options out there.
So if I may just add here, you need to figure out what is your area of interest, your area of choice. What is it that triggers you and really empowers you? The economics is a very broad subject, a subject which touches our life across. So just choose, if doing that broad subject will open up doors across industries. It could be any area that you wish to specialize after that. The world opens up when you do a subject which is as broad as that. So do something which you like. Ask yourself which is what you would want to pick it up.
Can I add something?
Yes, of course.
Yes. So with a degree in economics, you can, like Vidisha mentioned, work in any industry in corporate finance role, as there is a role called FP&A, financial planning and analysis. And I see a lot of people from economics background who work in that role. So really, there are a plethora of opportunities if you have a degree in economics.
Thank you. So, Mumia, we've talked a lot about technical skills. How are soft skills important, and what are soft skills?
So thank you, Mimi. It's a very important question. I think the students should know. So when we speak about soft skills, we mean how you present yourself, how you're making your communication with the other people who you're working with to get your buy-ins in order to go ahead. What is your attitude like? How are you as a worker? Are you good? Are you a team player? Can you work with people? Are you very nice to be with? You know, all these matters. How are you speaking? Can people understand you? Can you manage up and can you manage down? Are you giving, the pretty much what you're trying to say to your management? Is that like understandable? Are you giving the right information? So what you're learning today, it's bookish knowledge, right? Those are pretty much the hard skills. When you go to learn, to university, you will learn engineering or data analyst or whatever, your degree is. Those are your hard skills that you have to put into place when you go into your work. But it's your, your persona that is your soft skill, how you come across. That is very, very important. I have seen people, excellent people with very good knowledge, not making it big in life. It's because they don't have enough soft skills or good soft skills. It's how you sell yourself. Are you sellable? Can people, you can have the, ugliest idea or the worst idea when you go into a board meeting, but can you sell it and can you make that thing happen? Can you get that buy-in? So soft skills are very important. Hone them. If you think you're a good talker, you have good negotiation power, it's very good. Keep on honing them. It's very important in the field of if you're trying to go up to a corporate level or if you are trying to open your new business, start up your new business. It's extremely important, especially in the world of project management or any corporate job.
Thank you, Mumia.
I would just like to add one line: soft skills are life skills. Whatever
Exactly.
you learn in your college, in your graduation, in your university are technical skills, which will put you to a pedestal, which will give you a job. But whether you can grow, move upwards, and how well you do it is your soft skills. So hone those skills. They are very, very critical and very, very relevant in today's world and shall stay relevant always.
There are actually lots of books you can read
Yes.
read about, like on negotiation power, on how to report up, report down. Don't shy away from reading these books. They're very important. And you know what? They're not. You might be thinking, oh my God, we are asking you to read and horn more thing. But it's very important at this juncture. And trust me, it's a very crucial time that you are in. Make it happen, read, give your 100% so that, you whatever you're dreaming of, you're making that happen. Because if you're not putting your 100%, you don't want it bad enough. That's all I can say.
Thank you. So, Shanjukta, what if our parents don't encourage us to do what we want to do? How do we get them on board with what we actually want to do?
So the tricky question for me, right? Okay. First, let me tell you, everybody who's watching this, that they are holding their own perspective and they have the best intentions for you, our parents. Okay. So you have to put yourself in their feet actually and see what they are thinking about it and what is it going inside their mind. I will tell one thing, that if you are really focused and you're determined to do something, build up your case really strong. Get whatever information's available, get third party endorsements, successful ones in that field, and you have to really make your case real strong and have information based discussions. You cannot just barge out of the room or slam the door on the face of your parents and create a ruckus. This doesn't work out actually, because what they need is information, because world has changed. if you have the right information, if you have the right case study behind whatever you want to do, just place it in front of them. They are not your enemies after all, right? So I think now parents are very different. I also have a teenage girl with me, teenage girl. So I understand what they need is space. So it is better that, you know, both the parents and the children understand that it is okay to let go of certain things and to hold on to certain things. And discussions, you know, conversations is the only way to put your point forward. So go ahead and dream big.
Yes, Neve.
I just wanted to add, this is the first place you can start practicing your soft skills. Sell it to them.
Yeah, exactly. My
Negotiation.
thought, negotiation. Yeah.
Negotiation, and also build up your business case. What is your return on investment? Like, you know, that you're
Just
going to do this.
Ask two things from them. One is time and one is trust. And I'm sure
Very
they'll give you.
nice.
I'm sure they'll give you both.
You know, I really like this one thing, one saying, I just got to say this. In God, we trust, everything else we verify. As an algorithm developer, it's something I hold very dear.
Very nice, Neve. You just answered another question. Somebody asked, what is a saying that you live by? Anindita, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I just wanted to add a point. You know, these two related questions. One was about how to convince your parents, and there was an earlier question about how important is it to have family support. And I think we've been talking about the easier part, you know, easier answer to this. And I will play the devil's advocate here, because I keep seeing students who come after school and they do not have it all from their parents. They do not have support. And there, I can see that it's a lot of stress. And it's not always easy to convince your parents that I want to do something where my friends after 4 years have a job and I am going on to say do a PhD when I'm still a student at the age of 27. So it's very difficult to convince. But one thing I see that always works is have someone you trust who you can talk to and who you can mentor you. Mentoring is something which helps a lot. And the other is, if you you know, first person you need to have faith on is yourself. If you have faith on yourself, you might need to fight the world, and that fight can begin with your parents. But this is something that you know in your heart that you want to do. You will do it and you will succeed. And then your parents will be the first people to be proud of you. So don't give up. If you can't convince them, go ahead and do it anyway. If you have it in you, you will succeed.
And remember, you know, I kind of think that there's no failure in life. There is a fork. This doesn't work out, you move on and you know, go the next place.
And
you always learn something that makes your life better.
Exactly. And you know what? Don't let anybody tell you.
Sometimes a warning lesson, sorry.
No problem. You know, the thing is that don't let anybody tell you that you cannot do. If you want something, just go ahead. It will happen. Don't let anybody tell you you cannot do this, take this part, or you're not, you know, meant for this. If you have that conviction in you, you go ahead with it, because determination is the basic recipe for success. Love it and be determined.
That's a good one. You know, love it and be determined. Those are the basic recipes for success. I love that.
Thank you.
There you go. Words to live by.
Just wanted to add on family support. I think family support is not something which you will need only today. You will need it at all walks of life. And that is a basic necessity. There is no shame in asking for that support. Your family is there to support you. Critical, yes, but your life will keep changing. You will enter different stages of life, but that family support will go nowhere, because you will need, and you know, hopefully, luckily we all have families who support us, but it does form a basis of our success mantra. So that's important to have.
Thank you. So we are getting close to wrapping up. I'll just take a couple more questions. There are so many more questions, and we will definitely answer them after. We'll put it on our YouTube channel. There's tons of questions about specific different career paths, several about artificial intelligence. There's a lot of questions about how to study abroad and whether that's a good thing to do or not. One question I'd like to address, somebody asked when we were talking about soft skills, what about if I'm an introvert? And to you, I would like to very strongly recommend this book called Quiet, The Power of the Introvert. It's by someone called Susan Cain. And we can post this, but it is one of my favorite books. It's a very powerful book. And especially if you're an introvert, you should definitely read it. So I'm going to wrap up by asking a question to all of our panelists, really. Who is your hero and why? So, Onushua, do you want to start us off on that?
I don't have a specific hero, but what I would say is I learn from everybody. I learn from the people I come across, from friends, family, colleagues, patients, whoever I meet. Their journeys, their stories, their life stories inspire me. So I think every cross I learn a little bit, and I like that, and I think they are all very inspiring. So for me, they're all heroes in their own life.
Wonderful. How about you, Anindita?
Yeah, I guess we all have multiple heroes, but the one person who has really inspired me and whom I consider as my role model and try to emulate in my work and life is my PhD supervisor, Professor Raghavendra Gadadkar, because he's the one who kind of taught me the philosophy of a PhD, and I absolutely look up to him for everything that I do.
Great. Nive?
Yeah, many people inspire me, but I would have to give it to the physicist, Richard B. Feynman, for his astonishing originality, for his sense of humor. You know, there's one particular word in one of his books that I really hold dear. He said, I'm actively irresponsible. And that word, you know, tells me in that is the potential to create something new.
I have to say, I love him too. Students, there are two books about his life. One is called Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman. The other one's called What Do You Care What Other People Think? And they're funny and they're inspiring. Shuchandra, how about you? Who are your heroes?
Well, I have several heroes, and hopefully this is not controversial or political. So my heroes are Barack and Michelle Obama for being role models for the underdogs who can dream big, and also Bill and Melinda Gates for their philanthropic work and educating us about emerging threats like pandemic, global warming, climate change, lack of access to clean water, etc.
Is there anyone else who would like to answer that question? Yes, Mumia.
It's cliched, it's my parents, but I just wanted to say why. My father always said one thing to me since I was a child. I was a very, a very weak kid. Physically, I always used to be sick and used to miss a lot of school and whatnot. So people used to say, she can't do it, Parvina. So my father always used to say, you fail the day you give up. If you don't, till the time you don't give up, you don't fail. So keep on going. And he had he had a lot of belief in me. So which I really appreciate even till date. Like, it could be the weirdest thing I have not, like, learned about, or I would say, oh, like, I can't do it. And he's like, no, how do you know? You haven't even tried it. So I really like that, thing about him. And I think that has pushed me this far, which I think if it's somebody else, I would have not gone anywhere. So yeah, it's my parents and especially my dad.
And those are good words to end on. Go do it and go dream big.
Go dream big. Hey
Go
guys,
dream big.
wanted to add two things. First, of course, one more time, thank you to Mrs. Khaitan ma'am, to Mrs. Nath ma'am, to Ms. Majumdar, to Ms. Sen for giving us your support and allowing us this platform. Students, do subscribe to our channel. We will follow up on the questions that you have put to us. Remember, this is a conversation. It's a two-way street, and we should engage. And in future, we will try to do our programming more centered around what we hear from you. And on that
Two
note,
things I would like to add. I'm sorry to interrupt because it's nearing its end now. Vidisha said something about empowerment. It's so very important. That is what we are working towards, in fact. That is the main objective, to be empowered, self-development and work satisfaction. I think through your insights, we get that. And another one, Mumia said about, that work is the same, nature of work is the same, or state. It's the mode that has changed. It's so very important. So very important in this age of information, because when Bidisha, you are doing the transaction, is not a face-to-face transaction anymore. It is from terminal to terminal. It is from network to network. You're working from home, community, or wherever we are. I mean, that way. And so the home is our database now. That way. It is so very important. So very. I feel that this is a fundamental right, that any work that produces deepest sense of gratification or participation, satisfaction, is definitely a fundamental right to all of us, to each of us, that way. So anything that we take up with your valuable inputs, I hope our girls will do very well in life, be on our side, we'll walk side by side, and always remember you for your valuable inputs and guidance support. Thank you. Carry on, please.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thanks, ma'am.
thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah.
So then, girls, ladies, see you.
Go.
Go
Go dream big.
Dream big.
Dream big.
Go dream big.